welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We will rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Highway to Hell. Rewind. In Highway to Hell, Charlie and Rachel are on their way to Las Vegas to elope. To avoid being discovered, they take a seldom-used back road that also happens to contain a secret portal to hell. Rachel, played by Kristy Swanson, is kidnapped by a Hellcop that pulled them over, and Charlie, played by Chad Lowe, needs to enter hell to save her. Screenplay by Brian Helgeland, directed by Jong, and released in Germany on July 4th, 1991. I know you've heard of this movie because of our previous episodes, but have you seen Highway to Hell before?
No.
Me either.
Never even heard of this movie until
we covered Drop Dead Fred, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, same here. Which is weird because this has a huge cast in it. This is like Motorama levels of cameos almost. Yeah,
and then I was thinking about the same thing as Motorama. Why was this not on USA Up All Night?
Yeah.
This is like another cult B-movie classic that I would see. I mean, if we were to do like any sort of
like guest movie programming or something?
Yeah, any sort of like movie programming, I would do a double feature of Motorama and then Highway to Hell.
Yeah, for a while I got it confused and I thought it was the same director who did Motorama because they are so similar in a lot of different ways, but it's not. The director is also the same one who did Drop Dead Fred, which is right. Apparently they got the job directing Drop Dead Fred from the producers seeing their work on this, because this was shot back in 1989, but didn't release until 1991 overseas, and then it came to the US home video market in 1992. But apparently somewhere along the way it kind of passed along a bunch of hands. And I see a lot of similarities in terms of like tone and approach to this between Drop Dead Fred and Highway to Hell. They're both in that weird mix of serious and comedic realm.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't really know what it wants to be. I mean, it clearly wants to be funnier, but there are way too many serious parts that kind of take you out of the comedic aspect and vice versa. I don't know.
Yeah, it's trying... I don't know. It's trying to be weird, like Twin Peaks type weird, but like it's trying to be like that type of David Lynchian weird, but it doesn't really do it.
Yeah, Motorama gets that.
But I feel like Motorama is more in that sort of culty, weird, dry type of sense of humor.
Yeah, this is trying to be satirical at times.
And, yeah, but some of the satire we didn't get. Like, I know there's a couple of times we had to look up why are they doing this. Like the scene where people are dressed up as Andy Warhols.
Yeah, I mean, which is weird because that's part of one of the best jokes in the movie at the same time. So in Hell, there's basically like a Mad Max landscape where it's mostly just barren desert, and then you have a couple buildings here and there that stuff happens at. Along the way in this road, you see these people who are creating the road through a good intentions paving company So that's like a good little play on words, and you see these people in line who are saying, oh, well, I just committed this sin because of this reason. Like I had a good reason for doing what I did. I was trying to save this orphan by doing this other terrible thing. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
but they're still
it's
sinners.
I didn't stop my son from drinking bleach because it would teach my son a lesson. Type of thing.
Silly stuff like that. Where
that was funny. Their reasons, and then they're like, okay, well, you're gonna die now.
Then they just step forward and they get crushed into the pavement. So they're paving the road with good intentions, literally. But their workers are all dressed up like Andy Warhol. And we're like, why?
Yeah, that I was like, would people have gotten that 30 years ago? Because I still don't, we looked it up and I didn't I don't know, Andy Warhol is one of my favorite artists, and I didn't realize.
Didn't know this either, yeah.
I don't see him as being a super religious person.
But apparently that's why it was done, is to sort of comment on his
But was that known 30?
At least to the filmmakers.
Okay.
Maybe it was meant to be sort of like this thing, like, okay, well, why? And then have you look it up. I don't know. To me, it was like South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut in 1999, where you have a bunch of, when Kenny's going to hell for the first time, you see a bunch of celebrities swirling around, and, it felt like that to me, where it's like, okay, you're commenting on something that they've done in the past. Like, you have George Burns in there because he played God, and you're not allowed to play God. So, like, stuff like weird little commentary like that. I thought maybe there was something in Andy Warhol's artistic history that would lead to that, but
barely. I don't
know.
But I don't know. I'm not like a historical expert on Andy Warhol.
No, but I think that scene is a good example of how, there's
it was
good elements of comedy mixed in with
but we
head
just
scratching.
Didn't get it. Yeah, and I don't know if it was meant to be that way, or if it was kind of like an inside joke with the director and whoever he made it for. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He meant it for.
And I wish I had more information about some of the behind the scenes stuff. I know it's available on, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray type of formats, and so maybe there's some commentary. I'm just really curious to know how
I would like
this and also Motorama gets all of their people to, where are these cameos coming from? Why did the entire Stiller family decide to be in this movie?
I looked that up, and and the reason, it's the supposed reason was Jerry Stiller and Ann Mira knew that their Ben and Amy wanted to become actors, or just actors, so they were like, let's bring our whole family into this movie so we can all get the beginnings of their acting career.
That's weird, because I feel like Ben was established enough at this point.
He has done stuff before, but he didn't really start getting established until maybe around this time, because he did his own show, the Ben Stiller Show.
Exactly. Yeah, he had been on SNL. He had done the Ben Stiller Show, for which he won an Emmy.
Yeah, but that wasn't exactly... I think it was in 92, 93 is when he finally became more well-known. With Reality Bites and stuff.
Yeah, Reality Bites and Cable Guy shortly after that. Long story short, Ben Stiller's in this movie. He plays a cook outside of a diner where he's cooking on the sidewalk outside of the diner, and he's trying to get people to eat his stuff as he, clearly he's just cooking on the floor, and it's this weird character, and he's very, oh my gosh, he just nonstop talks, and he's clearly playing it dumb, and it's a weird goofball character, and this is the only 1991 movie that Ben Stiller is in, so.
But then he also plays another role.
He also plays another role as Attila the Hun. This is full of people who this is virtually their only 1991 movie. So it's Ben Stiller's probably the most notable one because of all of his accomplishments since then with Severance and Escape at Dannemora and Greenberg and whatnot. And he also has probably the most MTV Movie Award wins and nominations out of anyone we've talked about so far.
Yeah.
Like he's a Generation Award winner back in 2009 from that thing. He won the Best Fight for Something About Mary, won Best Comedic Performance for Meet the Parents, Best Villain in Dodgeball, nominated for things like Night at the Museum, Tropic Thunder, Dance Sequence in Along Came Polly, several nominations for Zoolander. So I mean, you know, he's done a bunch of stuff, as you all know. And this is his only 1991 movie appearance. But he's also, he's there as Attila the Hun in Hoffa's Casino. It's another random location that they go to, which is a really cool set piece. I mean, you know, the exterior
the sets are cool
that they do.
And I was wondering how they did that. Like, especially the casino bar place that they go to, or the club. I don't know. It's like a casino club.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like go-go dancers in cages and casino stuff in the bar.
The exterior is really cool.
Yeah, the exterior I think is probably just like a miniature that they did a composite image of, but it's like this giant statue of Hoffa basically above the thing, and his gun is acting like the slot machine lever, and all across his chest has, you know, Hoffa or
I love hell
and things like that on it too. It changes its message as the slot machine goes. So it's really neat how they do some of these things. And so Attila the Hun, played by Ben Stiller, is sitting there with Cleopatra, played by Amy Stiller. That's where she appears in this movie. Mm-hmm. And then you also have Gilbert Gottfried as Hitler.
Yes.
And I wish you could hear what he was saying, because he's talking like the entire time in the background while the actual scene is playing. And occasionally you hear like a couple random things that he's discussing, but for the most part you don't really hear most of his jokes or his comments, and you know, all the stuff that he's rambling on about as Hitler. And mm-hmm. Attila the Hun and Cleopatra are trying to tell him basically like, shut up, get over it, the entire time. And so, interesting cameo. It wasn't as effective as I wanted it to be, because they couldn't really hear anything.
Yeah, and we also couldn't use the closed caption, which...
Yeah, Tubi doesn't have closed captioning for this movie, which is weird. So that's how we watched it. Maybe it is available through digital rental in other ways, so maybe that would have a captioning.
Right, that's kind of... I mean, we have to watch everything closed caption, because we're going to forget things, or some stuff
helps.
We just can't hear.
It just helps. We're the type of...
We watch closed caption like for everything. Absolutely everything.
There's sometimes where, you know, the dialogue is too quiet that you don't always know that people are fully talking in the way that you're supposed to hear it. But
there's people talking over each other where you want to know what each person says.
Yeah. So we prefer to watch it that way. And there was nothing available, so we didn't catch everything. But we'll see Gilbert Gottfried a couple more times. Actually, no, I'm sorry, just one more time. Problem Child 2.
Yeah, we've seen him before.
We've seen him before as the host of Haywire.
Yes.
Which is not on his IMDb credits. But, you know, everybody knows Gilbert as well.
I also saw that in 2000, I've never even heard about this show, but this is a comedy TV series on Netflix. In 2019, Gottfried reprised his role as Adolf Hitler in a series called Historical Roasts.
I'm not familiar with it.
On Comedy Central, but I've never heard it, but it's also on Netflix, and I just never heard about it. But it's people doing... you know, historical, like they're roasting Abraham Lincoln or something like that. That's the first episode. And he reprises his role roasting whoever. It was only 6 episodes. And I don't know which one he was in. It just said that he reprised his role as Hitler in one of these episodes.
Yeah, I never heard of it either, so...
It's on Netflix. I never heard, and I think they only did these 6 episodes, and that was it.
But man, I don't know. We knew him in 1991 from
Kind of
USF
like
All
a
Night,
yeah, kind of like a drunk history. I think this is
it's
kind
probably
of
like a spin-off
it sounds
or
like a drunk
maybe the
history type of thing.
producers. And Comedy Central really likes to hammer home the roasts.
Yeah.
That was their bread and butter for a little while. But you have Ann Mira and and Jerry Stiller also in that same diner, Pluto's. So Ann Mira is the waitress who a lot of people just don't stop talking in this. Like Ann Mira is going off on this big huge monologue that's
I don't even know what she was talking about.
I don't think you're supposed to at times. Yeah, people are talking over each other, and like most of the time there's an actual scene that's happening while this background character is talking. That happens multiple times in this movie. And Amira is one of those situations, and she's trying to talk to... Jerry Stiller is trying to talk to her. He is playing one of the many cops in this donut/diner shop place. And he's desperately trying to get coffee, and he can't get a word in edgewise. And
yeah, everyone is bombarding him, and I still don't know why.
Bombarding him?
The cop.
The Hellcop.
The Hellcop, yes, because
I think it's because
Jerry's
he has a live
human, and they want her, like they're kind of like zombies, and they want her to like eat her, or
possibly. I mean, the movie does not explain the lore of things very well. So
or is it
because we learn later on that the Hellcop is specifically trying to find virgins to bring to the devil.
Yeah, so do they
so
know?
Maybe that's what all of the cops are supposed to be doing, and so they're trying
bringing virgins to the devil, and then
and so maybe
does
they
he
want
get
to steal
like
it and get the credit,
an incentive or something? And I feel like the Hellcop is the superior cop out of all the cops.
Yeah, he clearly is. He's like the one that everyone's actually afraid of, and he's the one that's doing stuff. In fact, most of those cops have been in the diner so long that they have spider webs and stuff all over them. It's a really good introduction to hell because you get a lot of good costume and makeup work in that scene. With all the different cops with various different states of decay and gross prosthetics and whatnot on there.
Yeah, I like...
And Jerry Stiller's the only one that looks normal.
Which was... I didn't realize he was a cop until I saw the credits, basically.
Oh, yeah, he had the uniform on.
It was just like an old-timey cop
until
uniform.
Zapped away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the time cops' handcuffs, because they're literal hands that squeeze around.
Hellcop.
Hellcop's handcuffs.
Yes, you said time cop.
It's
a different movie.
Yeah.
Different movie. Different year.
Yeah. I like the Hellcop's handcuffs. Because they're literal handcuffs. They squeeze around your wrists or around Rachel's wrists and just won't let go. But she spills hot coffee over them and they react.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Thing from
Addams
Family, that type of, like, I don't know, it makes that type of expression, hand expression, like, ow, I've been burned, and it drops, and then she's running away.
That's sort of our first scene in hell. What leads us there is a weird situation. I don't understand why Charlie and Rachel are so afraid of cops in the real world, though. They don't explain this at all. They just say that they're going to elope in Vegas and that they're not telling anybody. They're not supposed to tell anybody, except Rachel did tell the mom. And so now all of a sudden Charlie is really afraid of every single cop that he sees, that he's going to get busted and arrested for going to Vegas to elope, which is not illegal. So the whole premise of them taking the back road
was
and avoiding the cops doesn't make sense.
Avoid the cops.
Yes, but it doesn't make sense.
It's like, why would they know unless...
Yeah, who's going to be on the hunt for, two kids who might want to get married?
Yeah, unless, what are they, like 17? Like, they're not allowed... that's what I was confused with. I was confused with that. Like, why is he so afraid of cops unless she was, like, going against his will?
Yeah, which isn't the case.
Yeah, I know. They both agreed upon it.
It's just that the parents don't know that they're
or unless
to get
they
married,
ran away
supposedly.
together and he didn't tell his parents, so his parents are probably like, my son's missing, and he thinks the parents have called the cops to try to get him back. But we never know at all.
They don't explain it, but he has a big fear of cops. At one point, there's a cop that follows them, and he thinks it's intentional, but it's not, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just... So he pulls off to this gas station and decides to take the back way instead of the main interstate, and that's when he meets Richard Farnsworth playing Sam. And, I don't know... that creates this whole situation where Sam is this guy who knows what's going on. He understands what they're about to head into. He warns them. And there's a couple times in this movie where it does the cliched thing where they're driving off and he's yelling a very key piece of information to them and they don't hear it because they're driving off. Mm-hmm. So he's basically saying, don't stop in between these two Joshua trees because... that's where the bad stuff happens, in essence. It's like, if you're going to pull over, make sure you pass this other tree first.
The second tree.
It turns out that they don't do that because they're falling asleep, and he wakes up behind the wheel and, swerves to avoid things and crashes, and he's crashing in between the two trees, and
and the Hellcop appears immediately.
So, but there's another part where, there's three people, two people and a dog in the car. You got Rachel, who's now been captured by Hellcop. You have Charlie, who is beaten by Hellcop, right?
Sorta, yeah.
Basically knocked unconscious
he's
whatever way.
Knocked unconscious, and they have their dog, Mr. Ben, who tries to help them. Yeah,
tries to be a savior, but just fails in that case because, you gotta progress the plot. And it's a little tiny dog.
Yeah, but thank God Mr. Ben didn't. I was scared the entire movie that Mr. Ben was gonna get killed.
Yeah. So spoiler, he doesn't.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And you see Mr. Ben waking him up by just licking his face, but then Charlie goes back to Sam, and I was just thinking, I mean, how many hours away was this? Because it made it seem as if they were just like a half hour away or something. It didn't, but Sam makes it sound like it's a really long stretch of road that goes for hundreds of miles or something, and it's like you cannot drift off between these two Joshua trees. But he goes back to Sam and tells, and says, my girlfriend Rachel has been kidnapped, and then that's when Sam tells him the story about all these previous women that have been taken throughout the years, and then he talks about his ex, or the woman that he loved. Yeah, basically. Not his ex.
He has clippings of a bunch of different people, including Clara, who's the person that we learned that he loses. I don't know how many years ago, 50 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, it seemed like when he was the same age as Charlie and Rachel.
Yeah, because we do see Clara later on, and she hasn't aged based off of the picture in the newspaper clipping. And yeah, he talks about the road within the road and how you can't fool hell, and somehow he knows all these rules about how it works, and I don't know how he knows the rules.
Maybe he went there and came back, but it seems like you can't come back unless you outrun the Hellcop. But maybe he knew that because the car that he lends to Charlie has that turbo booster.
Yeah, but
thing.
Then how did he learn to put the...
Unless he asked the mechanic / spoiler alert devil man to fix it. There's
just a lot of stuff that just doesn't get explained well enough.
Yeah, that's why I was like, how did he knew about all this stuff, but how would he have known unless he's been there himself? But he had to have escaped.
And there's also this whole weird time paradox that doesn't make sense either, where he's saying basically that you have 24 hours to go in and come back, but also he says you're going to be stuck there if you're not back by sunrise, which is completely contradictory to the 24-hour timeline. And then you see this teddy bear at the clock that just happens to be in the car that was a possession of Rachel's, and he sets the clock on the teddy bear. And that is...
Yeah.
The whole time thing is useless. It doesn't come into play at all, other than that Charlie wants to hurry to get to Rachel, which he would have wanted to do anyway. And so it's not like he's referencing the bear, or we see the bear ticking down.
No.
But there's like a race against time at the end when there's also a literal race. So it doesn't... It's another like dynamic and cliche that just doesn't need to be there.
And then when he is in hell, it makes it look like he's been there at least a couple of days.
Yeah, it does.
Because his car, he gets into all these random kerfuffles, I guess. That you have the motorcycle gang, and they ruin his car, and then he has to get it fixed, and he's going from place to place trying to find Rachel. He finds Rachel, but then she gets taken again. It seems as if 2-3 days have passed at least.
Yeah, and it's tough to tell because I don't think the sky or the light ever changes once they're in hell. I think it's constant,
But when they do come back, it seems as if 5 minutes have passed because the cop that is chasing Charlie is still there wondering, where did this guy go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when he's trying to go back into hell, basically what he has to do is do like a Back to the Future type of a thing where he has to get the car into a really high speed and then believe really hard that it's real, and then he can, as long as he's in between these two trees and he believes really hard and goes fast enough, then he will open the portal to hell and go to this road within the road. And so there's a cop car, a non-Hellcop car, chasing him because he's speeding along the highway, and then he's able to escape eventually from that cop. But first he gets pulled over by the cop.
That's
and then almost kills him with the shotgun that Sam gives him.
According to this lore that Sam has, why is that normal cop car there? Because I thought anyone who stops between these two Joshua trees gets sent to hell. So why is that, unless the cop car caught him before the first Joshua tree and was chasing him throughout that stretch of road? Because that non-Hellcop, the regular cop, pulls him over between the two trees. Wouldn't the Hellcop come and take both of them? But
no, because they're not virgins.
Okay.
They're not virgin women.
So if you're a guy driving...
Really, that's the main concern, I think.
Yeah, okay. If you're I think... So if you're just a virgin woman, you're going to get taken.
Yeah.
But Sam doesn't really say that.
I don't know if he does.
He just says, don't stop between these two trees or this Hellcop's going to come and get you.
Yeah, because he might not know the full situation as to why all those women are taken. But, I mean, from what we saw, it was only women who were taken, and then later on, I forget who it was, might have been the motorcycle gang leader guy.
Yeah. Why? I know...
Royce, he might have said...
Okay, because I was thinking Royce was... I mean, because Royce wants to come back too, but the devil or Beazle, whoever, is like, no, it's not your time yet. I still didn't understand why.
No, because like you get all these scenes with Royce, and he's making deals with people like, okay, well, if I do this for you, then you're gonna owe me. And he does the same thing with the Hellcop. He does the same thing with Charlie, and there's this backstory there that we just never learn, and some of the deals that he makes never materialize either.
No,
it's I don't know, some parts of this movie just feel unfinished or just not fully thought
We
out.
don't know how these people got there besides... And then the girlfriend, Clara, did Beazle just make a deal with him to say, hey...
You can have this
You
one?
can have this woman as your girlfriend instead of the devil taking her as his wife.
Yeah, like maybe
Like
they
that
could
was
have
the
had...
deal, quote unquote.
Yeah, it could have been like one of the scenes like, okay, well, you have to stay here. You can't go back, but in exchange, here's Clara.
Here's Clara as your girlfriend.
Maybe, but this is us like trying to fix movies again, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm also trying to make sense of their backstories and why they're there.
All we know is that Clara at some point basically says that she chose to remain.
Yeah,
that she had the option and she chose to stay.
And then I was thinking, how many? Because Sam shows other pictures of women. What happened to those women?
We don't see them. I mean, I don't know. We didn't get really good long looks at them. Maybe some of those women were in the cages at the Hoffa's Casino or somewhere else in hell. I don't know.
So the devil is just looking for his perfect bride, and the bride happens to be Rachel.
Yeah.
And she has it. Like, Clara had the choice to stay. There's a point where it's like, do you want to be a mother who's constantly pregnant all the time and, you know, dealing with screaming kids, or do you want to follow your dreams and do this? There's like a point where they do that with Rachel, where she's in the back of the Hellcop's car, and it's like those TVs you see in the back of a cab.
Yeah.
Where it shows her looking miserable and pregnant, making pizza. Or do you want to be this musical genius who plays the violin in front of millions of people and becomes like super famous type of thing?
Yeah, it predicted the future with, you know, commercials and TVs inside of the cars.
And we didn't even know, I mean, 'cause when we see in the beginning of the movie, Charlie and Rachel are using a pizza delivery car to go to Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Is it her car?
I think it's his. I think that's his job.
But, okay, this is at the very end, at the end credits. She opens multiple pizza locations.
Okay.
And he becomes like he invented the Highway to Hell video game.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So yeah, maybe it's her car. But why would he be driving then?
I don't know, because the man always drives. I have no idea.
It's true. Every single time.
That's what I was thinking. How did she just become the pizza entrepreneur?
I don't know. They threw this weird like text epilogue at the end after everything, and it's again meant to be satirical, I think, but it just comes off as weird more than anything.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff that happens in this, and a bunch
where
of
we just
characters.
don't, and that I mean
And
we
you
can
just
get
don't-
into Adam, because he was also taken. Like, his family was taken.
The entire family was killed except for him, and he was taken. And why, we don't fully know. But Adam is there with Beazle, who we learn. Well, I don't know. At the very beginning, we see him as a mechanic who helps Charlie's car get fixed, and so he's there helping Charlie in multiple different ways.
He heals cars and people too, because he ends up healing Charlie at some point.
And then you have Adam there as his little
like protege,
sidekick. He's like 10 years old practically, and yeah, you just don't know the backstories of these people. But at some point, Adam helps Charlie because he wants to also escape hell. And so there's like a promise for that. And then at some point when we learn that Beazle is actually the devil as well, Adam makes a different promise to Beazle to save Charlie because he got shot in Hoffa's casino and he's going to die unless Adam uses his special powers to save him. But he will only be allowed to do so if he stays with Beazle/devil. So I don't know. he's there to help. He loves the kid. He loves hugging. He hugs like.
They make this promise to each other. Charlie's like, I'm gonna come back, and when I get Rachel, I'm gonna take you as well back to to Earth.
We're gonna
or away,
all three of
out
us
of
will
hell.
go together, or all four, because the dog is there too.
Yeah.
Mr. Ben's there too. So that's another whole wrinkle in the whole situation, I guess. There's a couple of key scenes I don't think we've talked about yet. One is when Charlie first meets Rachel again, or gets to her again.
Mm-hmm.
She is extremely like sexually charged all of a sudden, and basically like, hey, yeah, come make love to me right now. Like, forget about the fact that I'm tied up in this bed, and don't worry about saving me. Just make love to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out that it's like this
succubus demon.
gargoyle looking thing with super floppy titties.
Yeah.
And he only sees that in the mirror reflections. When he looks at Rachel in person, then it's Kristy Swanson. But when he looks into a mirror, he sees this gargoyle for a long time, and then whatever. And then they have a nice little fight scene there, and you know the effects in this movie are pretty cheesy at times, but also like they're not nearly as bad as what we saw like something like 976 Evil 2 in terms of the computer graphics. It's a good.
It's not like Terror Within 2. Terror Within 2 is like the worst. I don't know, monster makeup I've ever seen.
Yeah, like the gargoyle. I'm calling it a gargoyle. I don't know if it actually is, but
the demon.
The demon thing is it looks good, and the scene where he gets shot is also interesting. He shoots the demon into the bed, and it falls through the bed into this hole of fire.
Like pit of hell.
And that's how they get rid of that. But it's a good scene ahead of time. There's not a lot of gore in this movie, I will say. There's also that one other weird scene with the shotgun comes into play, where Lita Ford makes her cameo appearance, and this is basically the only time she's acted, aside from being in the Brutal Legend video game, in the early 2000s. And I guess she had a cameo in Herman's Head TV show where she played herself. But this is the only time where she's, playing someone other than herself. She plays the hitchhiker. Heavy metal artist, Lita Ford. And this is such a weird scene that didn't make sense either. Where, okay, Charlie's like basically trying to ask for directions to try to find Rachel. And she's like, okay, well, I can help you if I get to come with you, and like basically trying to act, like a prostitute in a sense, or like, hey, come with me and I'll do all kinds of things to you. And then like it just completely switches gears and like, but you have to have room for two. And then all of a sudden like this guy who's the ice cream man comes through, and it's like this goofy clownish music all of a sudden, and like he hops on the car and just like goes wacko, and so like Charlie's like driving this car like this big guy.
It's kind of like all these people who supposedly Charlie thinks he has trust in turn into people who are untrustworthy. I mean, you're in hell. You probably shouldn't trust anyone.
But it's such a weird scene. And so like I forget what the ice cream man says. He says something like, I'm going to scoop your brains.
Yeah, it's something really cheesy.
Like, I'm going to scoop your brains. And then, like, Charlie takes the shotgun and shoots a hole through his head. But it's not gory. It's like...
It looks like paper mache was blown apart.
Yeah, like, there's a giant hole like a cartoon. And so, I don't know. It's that kind of weird effects, and so most of it's like miniatures and things like that with the set pieces that look the best in this whole thing. I will say that they do also do a very good job with the practical effects of the hell car itself, the cop car.
Yeah, that was
because they have
cool.
like flames and smoke coming out of the car, and that's not digital. That's not a computer thing. That's something they created and were able to spot out.
And they show the when you go inside the car, the locks lock and the handles are removed. Yeah. You see it like digitally get removed so you can't escape. in any
can't
way.
open the door from the outside because he has like some device that removes the handles from the doors. So there's some interesting stuff in there for sure. And the gargoyle whatever fight I think is probably the better one. And then you have the other key scene. You have him going to hell through
like Cerberus.
Yeah, the Cerberus. Okay, the Cerberus.
Going to like River Styx.
Yeah.
To actually find the real Rachel.
The effects around the Cerberus scene were bad. The stop motion Cerberus was not fluid at all.
I was okay with it because I knew this is just like a B movie and they did the best they could.
I guess it just needed a little bit more. I don't know. It was too staggered. You needed to have more keyframes of animation if you want to.
It looked very. Was it claymation? Because it looked very clay-like to me, but I don't.
Know. It was definitely some sort of miniature. I don't know if it was clay or not, but it was some sort of physical object that they were moving. But they just needed to make smaller movements and make it a little bit more smooth. And then the effect where Mr. Ben does his thing, where he distracts Cerberus by lifting his leg to pee. The lifting the leg motion was fake. So bad. It was like worse than and you thought your parents were
with
weird.
That leg coming up. Yeah. And they couldn't have the real dog just lift a leg and pee.
No.
But I don't know.
It can't be that hard to train a dog to lift its leg, right? Even if it's not peeing, because I don't know if you see the pee.
I don't know.
Whatever. It was just a really bad effect. But anyway, Mr. Ben gets his hero moment again, where he's able
Mr. Ben is
distract Cerberus, which allows Charlie to pass by, and then Mr. Ben goes back to the car to wait for them. Basically, is what happens there. And then he's taken by Charon. Is that how you pronounce that?
I'm assuming Charon or
Charon.
Who's like the
boat.
Like in Greek mythology, like the ferryman.
Yeah, the ferryman. There you go. That's the right word.
Like carries souls. Like you would have to know all these mythological, like the river Styx. You would have to know all these things about going to hell. You have the ferryman going to Hades, carrying the souls.
So he makes a deal. He makes a deal with Charon to bring him, and Charon's like, "Yeah, I can do that, but you don't get reverse passage on my boat." But he eventually finds Rachel, and
Rachel helps him out by going through this like cave.
Yeah, there's some secret underground cave after they get it.
And the cave, they're being chased, and they're coming at a dead end, basically just a really long cliff, and she's like, just go faster, trust me, there's like a hole on the other side that you can make through. And that effect made me laugh, just the way the car went from one side to the other side.
Yeah, it's like a bad green screen of like a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah, going into a hole.
Yeah. But they make it, I don't know, then it sort of culminates in this whole scene where they, so Satan basically lets them go, right? So Charlie finds Rachel, she's dressed in white and playing violin and seems pretty happy, but she does want to go home. They have the conversation where Beazle does the reveal to say, hey, look, it's, well, actually he doesn't do the reveal at that point. He's Satan. Beazle is dressed up as Satan, or like he's revealing his true form. And they have a conversation and like, hey, we want to go home. I don't want to be staying here. And Satan's like, yeah, okay, cool. That's fine.
Well,
and then he sends the cops after him after they leave.
Well, because he knows that they will not escape.
Yeah, he doesn't think he'll actually make it.
Yeah, he thinks that they're going to fail at all times.
He's just toying with them.
And he's enjoying it because when Beazle is revealed as Satan, that's when Charlie makes this bet where we'll race the Hellcop, and if we win, we will escape, and you'll allow it, and if not, then we'll stay here. And Rachel even sweetens the deal for the devil, saying, and then I'll agree to be your wife. And he's like, okay, go ahead, because he thinks they're gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then Royce and his gang.
Well, let me quickly step back for just 1 second and say that after they escape Satan's mansion or whatever it is that you want to call it, they go to Beasel's place for help. Like, that's their first stop, and that's when Beasel...
That's when it's revealed he's Satan.
Yeah, Beasel's there with Adam, and it's revealed, like, hey, yeah, no, I'm the same guy. I can't believe you didn't catch on by now, and by the way, Adam's staying here because he made a deal with me afterwards.
Yeah.
So that's that whole thing. But yeah, so Royce is mad that he doesn't get a chance to race and go back up as well. And so he just decides to join the race without even like talking to Satan or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm going to race too, and I'm going to make it to this portal first.
Yeah, but then he's trying to make Charlie lose. So if Royce wins, then he can escape. But he was trying to ruin Charlie's chances of winning.
Yeah, because he wants to go through. So I guess it's whoever goes through the portal first wins and gets to go through and whatever. But Clara sabotages the whole thing. Because she takes
she has
her
like a
scarf.
Change of heart.
I think she just always wanted to stay there.
Did she?
That was like the whole thing of like, you know, you get this choice and
I thought she had a change of heart because there was a point where we didn't talk about where Charlie's trying to find Rachel. He tries to go through a shortcut, quote unquote, and that's when Clara stops him saying, you can't take this shortcut because you'll get in trouble.
You're going to get lost.
Yeah,
at some point you're going to be offered a choice and you don't know which one you're
going to take. And that's when she talks about Sam.
Yeah, and basically what she's saying is like she realized that she doesn't need Sam anymore. And so that's why she decided to stay there.
But then she also has a change of heart for Charlie and Rachel, realizing that's how her and Sam were. And then before they leave, Clara was like, say hi to Sam for me.
Oh, well, maybe it's like a little bit of both, because she realizes that she didn't want to go back up there and it'd be like too late for her.
Yeah.
And also that she wanted to stay. And so like she blindfolds Royce to sabotage things and make it so that he has to crash his motorcycle because he can't see anything.
Yeah.
So it's probably like a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It's like she knows that her place is there in hell.
Yeah, she realized she made the wrong choice, but she's fine with that choice now. Like she's made her bed and now she's got to lie in it.
And then Royce gets impaled with his own sword, which is a whole thing that was also not really fully explained. Like it was like a whole thing in the movie.
So do they die though? Because then they do
no, they don't die.
Okay, yeah, because they do like a close up and they start twitching again, as if they're gonna come back to life again.
Yeah, it's eternal damnation, right? So
they just come like they can die, but they'll just come back to life again. Yeah. Like they just never die and
there's no way the devil will let them off.
This is like purgatory for them.
But Charlie wins the race because, they're trying to shoot the cop, shoot the car, and shoot the eyes specifically because at some point someone learns, we don't know who, or I forget who says it. Is it
I
Adam
thought it was
that says
Rachel.
It?
I thought it was, Adam.
Adam says shoot him in the eyes because that will kill him.
So Adam probably knows because...
he's been around long enough.
He's been around and Beasel probably made him the Hellcop, or something. So
they're trying to shoot him in the eyes. They're trying to shoot him in general with the shotgun while they're racing. They drop the bullet, and so Rachel's searching around for the bullet on the floor, and accidentally flips the switch, which is the second thing that Sam says as Charlie's driving off, and be like, by the way, there's something really special about this car. Mm-hmm. Couldn't hear it. Didn't have a chance to explain. And it's basically a nitro boost. He gets to Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, it's like Fast and the Furious all of a sudden.
Nas boost and
they get out of hell. But 5 minutes later, the Hellcop follows them.
Yeah. And then they're finally able to... so there's like a tussle between Charlie and the cop.
And the real cop that was waiting there for him.
And then Rachel is able to like come from behind with the shotgun and shoot him in the eyes, and he explodes real good.
Yeah, and then that's
gets the laser eyes effect first.
And explodes.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And then everything's happy, and then there's the text epilogue.
Yeah, there's a little text saying, they got married, Charlie made this Highway to Hell video game and is like rich from it, and Rachel has opened several pizza shops. And then Adam was able to go to his grandparents or his aunt and uncle or something in Ohio, because there was a point in the movie where he's like, yeah, I have family in Ohio or something like that. Like I thought he was going to stay with them as like their adopted child or something.
Evidently not. Well, yeah, we forgot to mention that Adam was able to get in the car with him.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, get that from the end. And then, you know, Mr. Ben also helps, and Mr. Ben is with them when they come back.
Yeah.
I do like the Hellcop.
The makeup?
The makeup.
Yeah, so I don't know what's written on it because they don't really linger on his face all that much.
It's kind of like these old runes. That's what I was also looking at.
Yeah, it's like runes
he's
and
got
like certain
runes
words.
and
Like some of
stuff.
them look like names of sins, I think, are in there and stuff like that.
Like if you knew like that type of lore, if you would have to do like a screenshot or pause on his face, and it probably does mean something.
I know one thing's for sure that's on his face that means something I'll talk about when we get to the awards.
Okay.
But that's the movie. I mean, it was fascinating. I wish it made more sense. But, I mean, I don't know. It was an enjoyable time. It really reminded me a lot of Motorama. It reminded me a little bit of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and that, you know, or I'm sorry, Bogus Journey, and that, you know, you're going to hell and you have this weird satirical bend to it, and, you know.
Yeah, to come back.
And all this kind of stuff. So it's like this weird mix of like Bill and Ted, Motorama, and Drop Dead Fred. Should we talk about cast and crew? Because there's a lot, and we've talked about some of them, but not all of them. We've already talked about Ate de Jong with Drop Dead Fred. Brian Helgeland, he's an Oscar-winning screenwriter for LA Confidential. He's nominated for Mystic River as well. He also has a Razzie win for The Postman, which was the same year as LA Confidential. So he won an Oscar and a Razzie in the same year. He also wrote the original 976 Evil, so he is credited for the characters in the sequel that we just watched recently. He's done The Knight's Tale, Conspiracy Theory, 42, and also Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4. Patrick Bergin, we've seen before. He plays Beazle / the Devil. We'll see him again in 1991's Robin Hood, but not Prince of Thieves, the other one. But we saw him in Sleeping with the Enemy previously. Adam Stork played Royce. For some reason, Beazle and Royce are the top two credited people. I don't know why they get top billing.
I think because
Patrick Bergen's probably the bigger name at this point.
At that point.
But I mean, Kristy Swanson is a big name at that point.
Yeah, because, I mean, when did... Okay, Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out the next year.
A little bit after, yeah.
92. But she was kind of well known, because she did, like, Flowers in the Attic, but I don't...
Yeah, maybe she didn't have any major... I don't know. So she was in, like, Deadly Friend. She was in Flowers of the Attic.
I know
She had, like, small roles in Ferris Bueller, of course.
Yeah, and, like, Pretty in Pink. So... I guess Buffy is what made her really
that's what
famous.
Really made her big.
Yeah.
And then we'll see her again in 1991's Mannequin on the Move. But Adam Stork as Royce, he's been in things like Search for Tomorrow, which was a 1980s soap opera, I believe. Mystic Pizza, he was in Mystic Pizza.
Yeah, he's
Death
the
Becomes
boyfriend He's the boyfriend in Mystic Pizza of Julia Roberts' love interest in that.
Death Becomes Her in The Stand.
Yeah, he was in The Stand, but I mean, The Stand was after this. I mean, he had some recognition,
but it's weird to put Royce over Charlie Sykes, who's in virtually every single scene. Chad Lowe,
or even the Stillers. I don't know, but I mean, they're
I understand why they aren't, but yeah. Chad Lowe played Charlie Sykes. He's an Emmy winner for his role in Life Goes On, where he plays a victim of AIDS. Mm-hmm. Nominated for the CBS School Break special No Means No. He's in the 1991 movie Captive. He's in an Inconvenient Woman miniseries. He was on Spencer, Melrose Place, Pretty Little Liars, and Supergirl most recently. Pamela Gidley played Clara. She'll be in the 1991 movie Liebstrom. She was also in movies like Thrashin'. She was Cherry 2000 in the movie Cherry 2000. Mm-hmm. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. She's in that as well. Also, TV shows Strange Luck and The Pretender, and she actually recently passed away a couple of years back as well. Jarrett Lennon played Adam. He's in the 1991 movie Servants of Twilight. He's been on TV shows like Hey Arnold, Freaks and Geeks, and also an episode of WIOU, which we've talked about on this podcast before. CJ Graham played Sergeant Bedlam, which is the official name of Hellcop. He's probably best known for his work as playing Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. He's also in I think a kickstarted spin-off movie called Vengeance back in 2019, where he plays Elias Voorhees, and he'll also be in the upcoming sequel to that movie. Yeah, but most of his work is not acting. He was a nightclub manager and worked as like a casino manager for most of his life, in addition to going to conventions for Jason Voorhees appearances. Anyway, apparently people like his Jason to a degree.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he gets to do that stuff again. Richard Farnsworth played Sam, Oscar nominated for Comes a Horseman back in 1978, and also nominated for The Straight Story, which was his last film role. He is a Spirit win for that same production. Golden Globe nominee for The Gray Fox and Chase. He's also been in things like The Natural, The Two Jakes, Misery, the 1994 Lassie, and Green Gables. Longtime stuntman even before he started acting, and he has a long acting career as well. But yeah, he passed away from a self-inflicted gunshot after a terminal cancer diagnosis. So Straight Story was his last role. I talked about Lita Ford, Gilbert Gottfried, and Mira, Jerry Stiller, famous comedians from the 1950s and 60s for their Stiller and Mira comedy duo. They've been on all kinds of TV appearances. Ann Mira is Emmy nominated for her role in Kate McShane, which is a 1975 TV show. Archie Bunker's Place, she has 2 nominations for that, and also a guest appearance on Homicide. Golden Globe nominated for Rhoda. Tony nominated for Anna Christie. So she's been in things like The Greatest Gift from 1954 to 1955 for 224 episodes. She was in Fame, she was in Alf, she was in King of Queens with her husband Jerry Stiller. And they were both some of the original Compass players. Jerry Stiller, of course, we know is Emmy nominated from Seinfeld, and also is a Grammy nominee for a spoken word album in 2001, which is about his life with Anne. And then the last person I want to talk about here is Kevin Peter Hall, who played Charon. This was his last film role, unfortunately. He is a very, very tall actor, 7'2" tall. He's been in things like Predator as the Predator, Harry and the Hendersons as Harry. He's been in Pig Top Pee-wee, and then 227, the TV show 227. Mm-hmm. He was on that, where he met and married his co-star Alana Reed Hall on the show and also in real life. People may know her as Olivia from Sesame Street. So this was his last movie because he passed away in April of 1991. He was in a car accident and got a bad blood transfusion, which gave him the AIDS virus, HIV/AIDS, and passed away.
That's what, yeah. That's what that one after-school special I told you about that was on HBO.
Okay.
About that little kid who got AIDS, and it was through a blood that was
very common. Yeah,
a common thing. And then I know around that time they banned this.
Yeah, they became very, very controlling of how the blood supply.
Yeah, I mean they didn't want any gay people basically to give blood because of this.
Yeah, they kind of. I don't want to say kind of. They went overboard with the regulations and the protections of this. But,
yeah. It's not. I mean, not all. Whatever. It's not all gay people had AIDS, but it's just like they banned gay people from giving blood
for a long time.
Yes.
That just got reversed. Like less than a decade ago.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So that's the crew. It's a large crew. We kind of passed over some names, and we talked about some along the way, but that's what we got. On to the awards really quickly here. We got the Academy of Science Motion Picture Saturn Awards. It was nominated for the best makeup for Steve Johnson, but he lost to Batman Returns. Again, this was released in the stateside 1992. On the Hellcop's chin are the letters SJ plus LQ, which stand for Steve Johnson, the makeup artist, and Linnea Quigley, his wife. So, little homage. So we know one thing on his mask and what it means. This movie was also nominated for the Fangoria Chainsaw Award for the Best Independent or Direct-to-Video Film, but it lost to The Resurrected, which is also on our list. A lot of the direct-to-video films from that year are on our 1991 Movie Rewind list. So The Resurrected will be something we will watch at some point. That's it for the awards. It did have a little bit of box office. It $9 million budget. They released it in theaters to some degree, and it made a whopping $26,000. So, hopefully it did okay on video to recoup some of that money, because that's a big budget. Move on to true crime and pop culture.
Yeah, so this movie was released on the 4th of July, and on TV there was a this was on CBS, a Disney's Great American Celebration, and I think I found the YouTube of it. It was a Walt Disney World 4th of July special, and I think it's the same thing that was on CBS, but it was, the Disney parade, you're in Florida, it's Disney World. Mm-hmm. And it's really long. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it starts with the Disney parade, and then it ends with, fireworks. So I have that on YouTube, the clip.
Okay.
But then all on TV was just, they also had the Boston Pops Fireworks Spectacular, the 18th annual. I tried to find that one on YouTube and I couldn't find it.
Only 18 at that point. That's wild.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about this, but the score for the movie is really good.
Yeah.
And I just want to say...
Hidden Faces was the band that did the music.
Yeah, the music. But then the score is by Tangerine Dream. I just wanted to mention that.
Partially.
Partially, yeah. Mainly because Tangerine Dream did a score of one of my other favorite movies, Legend. So... And then when I was looking up the music for this, all I found was music for... They did a lot of scores for other movies besides Legend and this. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, on Spotify, there is an album of theirs where it's all the scores they did for... Or all the songs for the scores that they did for movies. And then they also did the soundtrack for Grand Theft Auto 5. So it's a lot of their electronic music.
It's on one of those stations.
Yeah. And moving on, I haven't talked about this in a while, but going on to the Billboard charts, I'm going to do the bottom 5 as of July 6th, 1991, because I don't think there's going to be another July 4th release. Because it was a Thursday, so we never know. I don't know. Yeah. But there's at least 3 or 4 songs on the bottom 5 that I've never heard of. At number 100 is Where the Streets Have No Name by the Pet Shop Boys. We've talked about that before. This is like the very end. They were 7 weeks on the chart, and they peaked at number 72 for that song. At number 90, let's see, yeah, number 99 and number 98 are both new releases. Number 99 is a song called Got a Love for You by this dance group called Jomanda. I think I'm saying it's Jomanda. Jomanda.
Okay. Yeah.
They're an all-female house music vocal trio from New Jersey. And this song was number 1 on the Billboard dance charts for their Hot Dance Club charts, but it peaked at number 40 for the Billboard Hot 100. They have another song that came out in 1993 called Don't You Want Me, that became number 1 in the dance charts as well. But their first hit was a song called Make My Body Rock, and that appeared on the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas soundtrack. And I mean, I listened to all 3 songs and I like them all. They were only together from 1988 until 1994. They had 2 albums, and this song, the one that is number 99, was on their 1990 album called Someone to Love Me. Number 98. So I've never heard of this song. This is a debut called Shake It Like a White Girl by Jesse James. Have you heard of this person?
No.
Or this song?
No, not until you were playing it before this.
So, okay, I went on down a rabbit hole about this guy. So his real name is Jesse Itzler. He's a Jewish born. He's a white guy, and he was a rapper in the late 80s, early 90s. He co-wrote a lot of songs with Tone Loc, which you can tell. Okay. This song sounds very much like Wild Thing or something like that. He had another song that was not on the Billboard 100. It was called College Girls Are Easy, which I guess this song, Shake It Like a White Girl and College Girls Are Easy, were really good songs that were played in clubs around the early 90s. I mean, we wouldn't know because we were like 10. Mm-hmm. And this single eventually became number 74 on the Billboard 100, and it was featured on the soundtrack of the movie White Chicks, which I haven't seen that movie in like 25. I don't know. Then like 20. I don't know. That movie came out. That movie came out in 2004, so I've only seen it once, and that was like 20 years ago. So in 1992, he also wrote and sang the song for the New York Knicks, their theme song called Go New York Go. And he also did a bunch of original songs. One of them, he won an Emmy for, the song is called I Love This Game, which was also a theme song for Inside the NBA. I don't know. You would probably know more than me.
Inside the NBA was... I'm assuming you're talking about the TV show Inside the NBA.
Yeah, the song I Love This Game won an Emmy.
Yeah, so Inside the NBA was a late Saturday morning TV show with like Ahmad Rashad and Summer Sanders or Willow Bay.
Okay.
And yeah, it was like This Week in Baseball for the NBA. So it was like a staple of Saturday morning TV for me for a long time, so I am aware of that song. I can't really remember how it goes right now, but I definitely have heard it before if it was on that show.
Okay. And then he also did a lot of songs for like Foot Locker and Coca-Cola. Okay. And now he's an entrepreneur, and he's currently married to the owner and founder of Spanx. Her name is Sarah Blakely. But he's an entrepreneur where he co-founded Marquise Jet, one of the largest private jet companies in the world. Okay. He created the 100 Mile Group, which is a brand incubator and accelerator. And he also has a partnership with the Zico Coconut Water, ZICO. Okay. And he also is like a co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, this guy, that's when we were getting ready for this. I was like, wait, this guy is doing a lot.
He's becoming a mogul. Yeah, he's making his money.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's just lived a life and he's like 50 years old or something. I just thought that was super interesting. But that's Jesse James. And so at number 97 is a song called Written All Over Your Face by an R&B group called the Rude Boys. I may or may have not have talked about.
Rude Boys sounds familiar to me.
They were just a group from Ohio, and they only had a couple of songs. This song also peaked on number 1 on the R&B charts, and they had another single called Are You Lonely For Me, and they only have 3 albums. This song, Written All Over Your Face, won the Billboard Music Award for R&B Single of the Year. And so number 96, we've talked about this before. I'm pretty sure it's a song called Blind Faith by Warrant. I'm like, I feel like we've talked about Warrant before and this song. But this is the second week on the chart, and it peaked at number 96, so it stayed at this spot for a while.
Okay.
And then that's it.
So we'll move on to rankings and ratings. Where on your 1 to 5 star scale are you going to put Highway to Hell?
I'm gonna give this a 2.
Yeah.
I like Motorama. I was comparing this to Motorama, and I think I gave Motorama a 2. I can't remember anymore.
I don't remember it either. I feel
But
like
I like Motorama more than. I mean, this is kind of like the 976 Evil 2, or even Body Parts, where this is a good movie. I liked it. Mm-hmm. Or Motorama I liked, but we just didn't know a lot of the lore or the backstory, and I was getting confused.
Yeah, I think with a better script, with like more explanation, maybe a couple fewer characters, I don't know. It needs some sort of tweak to make it better. On my 0 to 4 star scale, I'm going to say it's a 2.5. I don't remember where I put Motorama either. I know I ranked Motorama a little bit low, and like it's one of those movies where I'm thinking,
like,
I should have gone higher, because it's sticking in my head a lot more. I'm like, if I had to recommend a movie to people that I know that they would have never seen or heard of from this podcast, Motorama is like one of the top 5 I would mention.
Yeah, I don't know if we should start changing things, but I feel like, because I don't want to go back and change things, because we didn't know.
I think you should change the Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead score
to a 4.
Yeah, based off of how much you.
Because I always compare everything to Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, maybe change the ratings a little bit, but at the same time, this is why we have the question, every movie's worth watching once, would you watch this again? Because it's not always a correlation. You know, like, a bad movie could get a low rating, it could get a high rating if it's, like, produced well, potentially. You know, like, there are, like, 3-star movies I would never want to watch again, but there's also, like, half-star movies that are fun enough that I would. And so, you know, that's sort of why we also have that question of, would you watch this again? And I would watch this again.
Yeah, and if someone gave us the rights to do a double feature at some movie theater, it would be Motorama and this movie.
I think it would be perfect double billing.
Yeah.
If you out there want to watch Highway to Hell, as it's recording in September 2022, it's available on Tubi, digital rental, VHS, or DVD. As always, check your local listings. You can listen to us on all of your major podcasting platforms. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and YouTube. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind, or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies, along with show notes, rankings, adjusted rankings, and more. Next week, we're going to continue our horror month with Dolly Dearest. It's available on Popcorn Flicks, VHS, or DVD. We will see you then.
Thanks.